Welcome to another edition of Meet the People. My name's David Feiner. I am the Communication Technology Manager in the City of Pittsburgh's Department of Innovation and Performance. Sitting next to me on this edition is one of the happiest people I've ever met in my entire life. Wendy Urbanic is the manager of the City of Pittsburgh's 311. She is happy, she's excited, she loves her job, and that's the whole interview. So thank you for joining us. We'll see. Did you want to say anything, Wendy?
I'm happy because I'm here.
Actually, Wendy and I have not seen each other in over a year. And so this is the first time we're seeing each other. Wendy, before we get started, just how you doing?
Pretty well, actually, considering everything that's transpired. My team's pretty happy. We had a pretty smooth transition, so all is good.
That's great to hear. That's phenomenal to hear. So 311, most people don't know, or most people know, is the non-emergency number that residents can call if they have any issues here in the city. But before we get to that stuff, Wendy, let's do a little background. Where are you from? How'd you get here? And how'd you get to the point where you're the manager of 311?
Well, I don't usually share this, but I come from Ohio.
Wow.
Yeah. And growing up, Pittsburgh was our arch enemies sports-wise, so I was surprised to end up here, but I ended up living in Pennsylvania the last 2 years of high school, so I needed to go to a Pennsylvania school, and I checked out Duquesne and fell in love. And then I decided to enroll in Duquesne and actually fell in love and decided that Pittsburgh was a good place to make my home.
That's great. And so you've been here for, 5 years? 6 years?
I love you. Yes, just about.
What neighborhood are you in?
We're in Duquesne Heights.
Oh, nice. And you love it there, obviously.
Yeah, we get to appreciate that beautiful view of the city. It never gets old.
I was actually just up on Grandview Avenue a couple of weeks ago, and I forget sometimes. So my wife's originally from Pittsburgh,
Yes.
which is why I'm here. And I sometimes forget how pretty Pittsburgh is, and going up there makes me appreciate the city a little more every time I see it from that angle. So I'm guessing you get to see the city from that angle quite a bit. Does it get old for you?
Never. I try to never take it for granted.
Awesome. All right. So how'd you get involved with the city, working for the city, and then 311?
Well, I had done a lot of phone center work, supervisor management, and then I started with the city in 1999, looking for a good stable job as a clerical. And in that position, we transitioned into a new endeavor called CareerLink, where the city was a partner with the state and the county and other entities. And in order for that to be a huge success, we had tons and tons of customer service training. So when I applied for 311, I came with a background of a lot of customer service and a lot of phone management. So it was a good intersection of skills.
So talk about the early days or early years of 311. What were some of the things you were doing then to get it up and running and get people to know about you?
Well, it was challenging, especially with a limited advertising budget. The conception of 311 came about with Bob O'Connor, and unfortunately he passed away before we actually had a hard opening and 311 officially came to fruition. When the new mayor, Luke Ravenstall, came aboard, he decided to move forward with 311 and actually did a lot of advertising before a grand opening. He got some billboards donated and got the word out. So when we initially opened, I only had 3 other staff people, and people were excited to call and share their concerns and complaints with us. So as you can imagine, with all the excitement, we sort of got overwhelmed when we first opened up. And had a bad reputation. People thought we weren't answering the phone when in reality, the four of us just could not keep up with that amount of volume.
Was there ever a point where there was, or has there ever been a point where there was a confusion between 311 and 911?
That is actually my biggest nightmare. It doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while we'll have someone call, and normally it's a non-emergency, something like maybe your car is blocked by, or your driveway is blocked by a car. You know, it's not life or death, but you don't want to miss your doctor appointment.
Right.
So if we suggest sometimes, call 911, they can dispatch an officer immediately. We find that folks are pretty resistant most of the time to do that.
Now, one of the things that I find interesting is you are, you are able to keep statistics or data on the types of calls that are coming in. Have you always been able to do that, or is that something that has been added over the years?
Well, it's certainly improved over the years. When we first started, the technology, the software we were using was fairly antiquated. It didn't have things that are common nowadays like mapping, GIS. So that's been a big help for us. So our data is a lot more robust since we've gone to a new CRM, which is customer relationship management software.
So you've been able to pinpoint where you're getting the most calls from or the most types of calls?
Absolutely.
And how often do you run reports or look into that data?
Usually I do it on request. My department, Innovation and Performance, has been able to come up with some great dashboards that departments use on a regular basis so they can keep tabs on what's going on very easily.
That's my department too.
Yeah.
There's a whole section of questions I have about COVID, so I don't want to get into that just yet. But would you say that the CRM that you just discussed, is that the biggest upgrade, or have there been other upgrades in the last 15 or so years?
That was probably the biggest upgrade and the first time I've done a software implementation. And as you can imagine, we have a lot of partners because we work with all the city departments, public works, police, permits, licenses, and inspections. And in addition, this software has allowed us to have outside entities as partners. So, if there's a road that's county maintained, we can send it to the county. We also work with some other great groups.
So now that you are working in COVID, I'm assuming, now I've been in your workspace, the call center on the 6th floor. Are your operators working in the building?
They are not. They have been working from home since March of 2020.
So how does that happen, and what happened for, I believe it was a Friday when we were told to go home. So how were you and your staff able to transition to working at home?
Well, it was a big move, and I previously had a vacation scheduled, so I was actually out of the country when this took place. But it went relatively seamlessly. We were able to switch over to voice over IP, which was the technology we are using that allowed us to work from home. And my team really seems to be enjoying it. Luckily, we have access to team chat, and that helps keep us bantering just like we would in the office.
How were there any kind of technology difficulties? So did everybody have equipment available to them so that they could start work that following Monday morning at home? Was there a delay in getting equipment?
No, everyone was able to use their personal equipment for the most part. We did order a couple extra headsets for them, but for the most part, they used whatever they had going on at home.
That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. What does a perfect employee for Wendy Urbanic look like?
Well, usually as long as they're making my customers happy, I'm happy. We want someone who is first and foremost concerned about finding resolution and not just doing data entry. So sometimes you have to go above and beyond a little bit, answer questions that aren't necessarily within our purview. And we try to support a reputation where we're known as going above and beyond.
So you said at the very beginning, many years ago, it was you and 3 or you and 4?
Me and 3 other people.
Okay. So I'm assuming you've gotten 1 or 2 more staff positions since then?
Yes, currently we have close to a dozen.
Wow.
Now we have some part-time mixed in there, but
What does so are there ever points where the operators are working together on a single call, or is it one operator, one call?
not normally. Now, sometimes they'll drop a call or someone will say, this woman needed an address, she's going to call back. So they do have to work closely together. They're not usually on the same call, but they might be helping the same customer.
That's great. And do you ever do coaching for calls?
I do some coaching, but I am fortunate to have a fantastic trainer, Naomi Johnson, and she does a lot of the coaching for 311.
I will also second that motion. Naomi is awesome. We love here at the City Channel. She did an episode of Employee Showcase a couple of years ago. We really enjoyed Naomi.
And I should mention that Naomi's been with 311 since the beginning, so
Oh,
she was
wow.
one of my original hires, yes.
I think that's a testament to you then.
I feel very lucky to have her.
Deflecting as always. So how has it been for you since COVID started, personally, moving from the office to your home?
Well, I'm a people person, so not seeing people and not being able to hug people has been very trying for me. But you just got to make the best of it and focus on the positive.
Most people know you are one half of the city of Pittsburgh's power couple, correct? Is that a way I can describe you?
Absolutely.
Your husband, Bill, is the city council budget director. So with the both of you because I know he's working at home as well, with the both of you working at home, is it hard? Do you have enough space that you're able to both do your jobs, or are you hearing each other throughout the day?
Well, no, it started off a little bit tricky because he made his office in the living room, and that didn't work out too well. So now I've moved to the basement, which we've since renamed the lower level, and he's up on the second floor. So it's good to have that much space between us. It's definitely helped our working relationship.
At the beginning of all this, my wife is a college professor, as you know, and she was teaching at home, and my son was online for school, and I was online for the City Channel, and we found our home internet couldn't handle all 3 of us streaming at the same time. Have you run into any issues like that?
We've been pretty fortunate. No, if I think we've been pretty lucky. Every once in a while we'll have to turn off audio, but it hasn't really been an issue.
One of the things I noticed at the beginning is the 3 of us would listen to each other when we weren't on a call, on the rare times we weren't on a call. And at dinner we would say, do you really talk to people like that during the day? Because our walls are thin, I guess, and we could just hear, even though we each had a workspace, we could hear what each other was doing. So I know that with Bill as the city council budget director, every year after budget season, so the end of December, January, I know that the Urbanics go on a world tour. Were you able to go on a world tour this year?
Not this year, we haven't.
Where are some of the places that you've been on during your various world tour?
Well, last year, actually, in March, we had a vacation scheduled to Punta Cana. My husband had surgery in January, which is when we usually leave. We need that break, so we had to delay it. And as we were leaving, it was just as everything was shutting down, so we were a bit nervous. So I'm glad we were able to get that trip in, but it was a little bit scary on the way home.
So where's the next one scheduled?
The next one, I am excited to say, will be in Jamaica, where we'll be celebrating a child's wedding.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Not your own child because you're not old enough, but right?
It's one of mine. Well, it will be one of mine. We're adopting, actually, so.
Okay. All right. So in 311, if there were a perfect world, utopia, 311 utopia, and budget wasn't a concern, number of people weren't a concern, what are some of the things that you would want for 311?
Well, I have to say, most of my dreams have come true already since Mayor Peduto came in and gave us our new CRM. That was a huge step forward for us. And now with the voice over IP, being able to work from home, I do have my eye on chat. I would like to get chat started.
So customer to 311 chat?
Exactly.
And how would people log on to something like that?
Just through the website.
Oh, that's excellent. I think my staff needs to write that down. We need a city channel chat. That sounds like a great idea. I'm sure that the public would love us, especially during city council meeting coverage where they see your husband.
Well, in the meantime, if anyone has any requests or compliments for the city channel team, they can always send them to 311. We'll make sure they get to the right place.
Nice plug. Wendy, you're awesome. You know you're awesome. Okay, so this is the part of the interview where I'm going to ask 4 completely random questions that have nothing to do with your job.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I think I'm ready.
Okay. What is the best COVID mask you've seen anywhere on anyone or one that you've worn?
I really like the clear ones because I try to be as inclusive as possible, and I miss seeing people's smiles, and I worry about people who read lips, so I think the clear ones are the coolest.
I never thought of it that way. I wore this one specifically for you today.
I did get a kick out of it.
This is, I don't know if people can see that, it's a Hannibal Lecter mask. When I showed this to Mayor Peduto and told him my wife doesn't like it, he said, yeah, I can see why.
Mine normally have sequins.
Oh, okay. That's a good one too.
Of course, right?
Can't have enough sequins. Wendy, do you have any hidden talents?
Hidden talents.
Is there something that you can do that virtually no one knows about? And don't worry, nobody's watching this. It's just between me and you.
Well, I'm a hypnotist. I'm not sure if that counts. But I feel like my superpower, which can also be a curse, is seeing the best in people.
Yeah, you are amazingly positive all the time. That is true. My dealings with you over the years, you are always very excited to see me, and that's very rare. People excited to see me. Since COVID started, do you have a new passion? Is there something that you started to do since COVID that you hadn't done before?
Yes, actually. I used to study Spanish back in high school and college, so I started up learning Spanish online.
You know, it's interesting you say that because Sylvia Harris, who was on a recent episode, said the same thing. She does a program, I think it's 5 minutes a day. So that's interesting. That I wish I had the foresight to start a new language all those months ago. It seems like I would have had a lot of time on my hands back then. So what level Spanish are you at this point?
I don't know the level, but I've got like a 250-something day streak going.
Oh, so could you talk to a 5th grader?
I probably could. I could definitely ask for a cold beer.
I told Sylvia, and I'll tell you, the only thing I remember from high school Spanish is how to get to the library. Donde
Wow.
está la biblioteca? I think that's right.
See?
No, I asked you, where is it? And you said yes. Come on, Wendy. And from the Lego movies, I can ask, where are my pants? Because my son watches those Lego movies all the time, and they sometimes do the Spanish version. Do you have what is yours or yours and Bill's most recent binge watch?
Oh, I would say we watched Psych, which is actually an old network show.
Yeah.
But we had a blast with it. That's probably the most memorable one.
Did you go all the way through?
We did.
Oh, nice. And you liked it?
We loved it. There were a lot of seasons. We were sad when it was over.
So you should watch it again.
Possible, but there's still some more out there, so.
My wife and I have been watching The Goldbergs on Hulu. We're many years behind, but we just don't think that non-Jews would find it funny. So it's 1980s family outside of Philadelphia, and there's so much Yiddish that I remember from my grandparents and my parents. I just don't think other people would think it's funny, but we think it's funny. All right. So if there are people, and I can't believe that there would be, but if there are people who are either new to Pittsburgh or don't know about 311 and they want information and they need to get a hold of you, can you tell us all the ways that they can get in touch with 311?
Yeah, absolutely. They can just dial 311 on their phone. It's similar to dialing 911. Just dial 311, and as long as you're in the city, it'll get through to us. If you have an issue dialing 311, can't get through that way, our 10-digit number is 412-255-2621. If you're an avid person on Twitter, we have a Twitter handle. It's at PGH311. And actually, our CRM allows us to respond to tweets right through it and archive any posts we get. So if you send us a request via Twitter, you will get a reference number via Twitter as well. So I love that. You can text us. That doesn't happen a lot. So honestly, I don't even remember that number, but it is on our webpage. We do have a web portal. When you go to the city homepage, there's a button in the upper right corner for 311. If you click on that, it'll bring you to the portal where you can enter a request. And finally, we also have a mobile app called MyBurg, and that's free of charge to download for iOS or Android.
There's no excuse for somebody not being able to get a hold of you.
Exactly.
Traditional phone number, Twitter, the website. There's all kinds of ways people can get a hold of you.
And if none of those work, my email address is wendy.urbanic@pittsburghpa.gov.
I have to say, Wendy, you may not remember this, but when I interviewed for this job and then was given this job, you were in the room. You probably don't remember this, but you were in the room when I was told I got this job, and you stood up and just started cheering as if your favorite Ohio team won the Super Bowl. And you have always been a cheerleader, not only for me, but for my entire staff over the years, for every city employee, every city program. And we need more Wendy Urbanics here. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
That's very sweet. Thank you.
Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being. This is not goodbye, by the way. I'm not like it's not like you're walking out of here and we're never going to see each other again.
Yeah.
But just thank you for being a friend, not only to me and the staff, but to the entire city. We need more of you around. Your positivity is infectious, and we just love seeing you.
Well, thanks for sharing your talent. We were glad to have you.
Were?
Well, still are. Sorry.
There's something happening that I don't know about?
No. You just mentioned that previous time, so I was excited then. I'm excited now.
Okay, that's fair. Wendy, is there anything else you want to add? Anything that you don't think I touched on before we wrap up?
That pretty much sums up 311. If you're not sure who to call us, and we'll be happy to direct you.
That's awesome. Well, I'm very excited. Once again, we didn't get him for last time, but the next guest on this show is going to be Alec Guinness. Although I did get an email saying he may not be available. So we'll see. We'll try. Do you know who Alec Guinness is?
I do not.
He was Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's a joke.
Oh, okay.
Star Wars movies.
Sorry.
He was in Bridge Over River Kwai.
I was all upset because we got a new employee that I haven't met yet.
All right. Wendy, again, thank you for joining us. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
And to you, the viewer at home, thank you for joining us as well. We'll see you next time right here on Meet the People.